So, as you have seen, we have tried to push not only the quality but also the variety of the members of this panel. And the reason why we did so is that we are very interested in listening to your opinion regarding the 6 business cases that you have been watching before. The TCBL project has invested quite a lot, not only of effort, but also of reputation, as far as those business cases are concerned. And since, like Jesse Marsh was telling us in his introduction, the ultimate goal of our project is to change the business world in a very impactful way. Our main question is whether and to which extent we can consider ourselves as being on the right track or not, based on your various and different perspectives of the market, society, industry, the consultancy world, suppliers, and so on and so forth. To facilitate this task, I have prepared 3 questions, but I think the logistics is not helpful to facilitate your reading, and therefore I don't intend to stick too much on these questions. Basically, this is to also ask the audience to be interactive and just in case intervene or maybe make different questions than these. But basically the 3 questions are a general impression that you may have had about the sustainability potential of these 6 business cases. And this morning the word sustainability has been used a lot, but in this case we are using a different meaning for sustainability. It really means the capacity of these initiatives to survive, to walk with their own legs, especially after the end of the granted period when the European Commission was stopped funding the development of these 6 business cases. So your general comment and impression about the 6 initiatives is one of the 3 questions that I have. Then, if time allows, we will go deeper, but at this first level, I would like to ask Gwenaelle to start by giving us her impression at a very general level.
To my opinion, I think what is incredible in that whole stories we listen to is that the bacteria project, we didn't know about it. And like, I don't remember, Cecilia said it has been here for ages and we just don't know. So I think it's all about communication. And it's not because I'm a communication officer that I'm saying that, but it's all about communication, and we have to know as European level what you're doing on the field. We're not just doing regulation and pushing laws at the European Commission. We need to know what is going on the floor, on the field, and based on that we can just propose something more concrete, because we need concrete steps. People don't trust in big brands, so we need now to be able to make more sustainability at each level, but we need to know it. That's my opinion.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I've been a little bit enthusiastic because I've heard like a ton of feedback for each business case, but then let's keep it general. I'm here as a young entrepreneur, and I really come from the business world. I've tried to work for public institutions, but I don't have the patience for that. So whatever I would say here would come from knowing the private world, working for companies, knowing what they're interested in. And we've heard today that a great responsibility is for the brands and the companies, less than for the consumers. And also the goal of this whole project is to create business cases, create businesses. But in terms of that, I think that the whole, well, just to ask a question, how many businesses are here in the room today? Hands, please. It's a rather small percentage for a project that's business driven. So, of course, I'm devil's advocate today, so I'm strict because I think that helps everyone the most. And I think that overall, if you really look at concrete propositions that could come out of these cases that were presented before, and if I think, okay, what would a business have to pay? What would they get in terms of commercial value out of that? What would be the running time when any return on investment could be seen? I think there's quite a long step to take there, and I think it would be really good to make it a little bit more concrete. For instance, I'm a big fan of the bacterial dye as well. But the first thing that's on my mind is, all right, how do we scale it up? How do we make it accessible for companies that need 1,000 meters of fabric? And for each case, except for the snakes and dragons and ladders and fairy, I think that's a really interesting tool to create awareness for brands, what steps you have to take. But for the other cases as well, my questions are really about where the real business case is. So where is the transaction of knowledge to commercial values that companies can use today, which is very practical, which is very hands-on, and which promises them in a way a return on investment on the short term. Because all the long-term efforts are very important. If you are business-driven, there needs to be also a short-term proposition in order to get businesses involved. So if you look at the map of enterprises that are involved as well, I think we can be a little bit more ambitious with that. I saw that in the Netherlands there are 0 enterprises involved. And well, for the Netherlands we can do better, guys. So I'm very critical. I'm very enthusiastic here, but I'm also very critical.
Thanks for your words. Please.
Just to echo what Veerle said, a big question that I had is exactly how scalable each of these things were. Looking at, I mean, everyone had very different business cases here, but the thing that kept coming up is, what are you going to do afterwards? How is this going to be relevant afterwards? The thing that I was thinking about when certifications were mentioned is, how are you going to make sure that it's not just another certificate? How are you going to make sure that the certificate is not another way of greenwashing? How are you going to educate? How is that certificate going to be the standard? Because what the industry struggles with is standards, is agreed on standards. And there are certificates, they exist, but everyone just uses different certificates, right? So how can we make sure that there is one unified benchmark that the industry agrees with? And then thirdly, I saw a bit of a disconnect with what we were discussing today about consumers, and then one of the startups is really focusing on I believe it's the independence on designers, and I'm wondering how consumers who are not ready, because we've said, are consumers ready for for sustainable fashion? Money is a question. How are you going to make sure that consumers are going to be suddenly ready to buy really beautifully and well-designed garments when it is about quality over costing? I'm wondering about that as well. So perhaps that's a question for later. But that's my
Rita.
I think I have to go slightly off course here and give you a history of my company, so you know where that you could almost use it as a microcosm for what is achievable. I've been in the fashion industry for 50 years, and I have seen, obviously, I am a history of the industry itself, so I've seen all the changes. First designer I bought was Mary Quant. And a couple of years ago, we introduced our own brand into my store, which was a company called Pollyanna. And we were right at the top of the tree. We were doing designers like Comme des Garçons, Yohji Yamamoto, Issey Miyake, through to Celine, and Yves Saint Laurent, so right at the top of the tree. And I saw the industry change, obviously, as people could buy all over the world, so they no longer came to local stores or even to the city 15 miles down the road. What they started doing was looking at price, and what happened within my industry was the discounts started to come in, and that, in my opinion, was the start of the downfall of the industry. We had done our own brand, which is called Nomad, and I decided that the brand within the store, which was incredibly successful, we wouldn't discount. And then 2 years ago I became quite ill with, well, slightly ill with a heart attack, a brain hemorrhage and a stroke. And I thought, somebody up there is trying to tell me something. I was working 7 days a week to stand still. So I was going to retire and decided, no, this is my chance to prove that it is doable. So I took on a beautiful old building, which was built 250 years ago, and I put Nomad in there. And we opened an art gallery, we opened a restaurant, and so far it's working incredibly well. What we did was we totally got rid of the discount culture. Anybody who comes to my store, no matter how much money they are spending, does not get any discount. I might buy them a free lunch, but they're not going to get any discount. So we proved that it was doable. And as we've gone the 2 years down the road now, what I've found is incredibly exciting is that I also have an incredible love of textiles. And right on my own doorstep are incredible mills like Joshua Ellis, who weave the most beautiful cashmeres for companies like Chanel and Bottega Veneta. They're 5-10 miles away from where I live. We're dealing with the Scots, we're dealing with the Irish in Northern Ireland. We do deal a little with the Italians and the Japanese on our fabrics, but we buy the best fabrics that we can buy. And we compete in an incredibly competitive market. But one of the things I introduced into the store was that every one of my staff has got an incredible knowledge of what they are selling. So we don't just sell someone a cashmere jacket, we tell them where it's from, we tell them that that mill is 250 years old this year. We've just started dealing with a company that does silk prints called Adamley, who are 20 miles away from where we live and where we trade, and they are 270 years old. And I took a young assistant of mine to go and see them, and you would think that the mill was 270 years old still. They've got the original print blocks on the wall that looks like works of art, and they are just absolutely incredible, and they've just resurrected for us a print which was designed in 1895. Time of, we were talking about it, Bill Macbeth and I were talking the other night about the whole thing of maybe we're into a new wave of, like the turn of the century, like the Art Nouveau, Art Deco period. Maybe, but it's to start with small SMEs like me who are totally interested and dedicated to what they are doing and pass that knowledge on to their clients. So it gives their client a reason for paying £500 for that silk blouse. We make no apologies, but use me as an example. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to follow on from what Rita said. Isn't it interesting that her customer really wants to know about everything about that product, its heritage, who made it, the fact that the cashmere was ethically sourced, etc. I'll speak to experience from, say, Next and ASOS and various other companies who are good, very good at ethical, and ASOS in particular are very, very good at sustainable. And listening to all the cases today, I found them all fascinating. I found the bacterial one completely fascinating. I want to shout it from the rooftops because we've been investigating microbes that break down fibres for easier and better recycling. And the youth customer, the social media savvy, the girl and the boy who have got information at their fingertips, care. They've been recycling since they were 4 years old. They care. 2 points I would point out here. 10 years ago, Next had one of the best ethical policies in the world. Would they advertise it? No, because they were terrified of if one incident got publicised. So somebody once said there's only 2 emotions, fear and love. You either do something out of fear, do it because you don't want to get caught out, or you do it because of love, because you absolutely want it to happen. ASOS in particular do it for love. They really, really do. So what does today mean for the retailer? How can we collaborate? We can. Just by really caring. ASOS gave really good training to the buyers. They had information. We picked our targets. We picked BCI, Better Cotton Initiative, and we looked at the big volume. What's the big volume? T-shirts and jeans. Right, well, let's get 50% of our T-shirt and jeans BCI cotton. Done. Achieved. Will we advertise it? No, because we want to make sure we're 100%. It's a long, long road. Will they do it on their own? No, we're going to have to collaborate. Time and time again at conferences like this, people will say, oh, there's extra cost to sustainable. Well, there is now, until we reach a critical point of volume, and that means everybody doing it. Fortunately, Next and ASOS have got quite meaty volumes when you add them all up, but one of the challenges for retailers, and I think a lot of suppliers and mills will look to retailers for all the answers. Actually, if you look at the annual reports generally, and Next has had the worst ever, retailers are having a really bad time at the moment, apart from the pure play like Zalando and ASOS and Amazon. So retailers haven't got the wiggle room for markdown, for margin erosion. And what's the solution to that? Actually, the solution is the topic that Bill brought out, which was short runs. Short runs equals faster fashion, better fashion, and lower markdown. So short runs, I think, is actually one of the most industry-appropriate topics. Sustainable doesn't mean anything if it's not profitable. It has to be profitable, sustainable. So the only way the retailers can do that is all speaking at one, and it can happen. ASOS, Next, Marks & Spencer's, John Lewis, River Island collaborated to look at UK production. We wanted quick production. Kate will be very familiar with this as well. Fast Forward is an initiative just about UK production. We set the agenda, we put money in, we pay for the auditors, and we've now got 100% of our UK supply base approved, and suddenly nobody's scared of UK production anymore because these people are good. So collaboration is key. And I think it is because we need a critical mass. We've got lots and lots and lots and lots of sustainable initiatives, scientific, etc. And we would like to make use of all of them. The bacterial one really shone out for me, and the short run one really shone out for me, because they are real activities right now. So thanks to all the 6 presenters. I really want to see Celia in the future, having created the world of bacteria. But thank you very much for all of them.
Thank you.
With all the previous ones, of course, the bacteria and the business, the short run, shone, as you said, and I agree with all of them. I agree with Rita what she said, to cultivate the culture and the good taste of the consumer, which all these years have really took into the different directions, so that there is not interest and all this. I think that I'm sure the retailers feel it very well with the returns that are growing and growing. Now, one thing that has not been, or has only been touched very lightly with some interest, is the real product, the final product. All of us, if we go to shopping to buy a garment for ourselves, the thing that will attract us, of course, maybe color, maybe fabric, it may be all these things, but at the end we try them, and if they don't fit, we don't feel satisfied with the situation in the market that we very rarely can find garments that really fit. This is really the main problem, I think, and Maria Cipolla touched it a little bit, but I don't think all the solutions are there. It is a fact that the person that really contributed to this success all these years had been somebody very silent, that didn't go to the limelight, was not recognized in great shows, and it was the pattern maker that interpreted all the designs of the great designers, all the names that you have, okay, thank you, all the names that you have said, and nobody was never accompanied the great fashion designers in the limelight and in the project runway, in the runways. So this is something that has not been touched. We as a company have been working towards that for 40 more and more years, and we have developed, apart from the technology of learning and getting even to the more advanced software that really help the pattern maker, we have developed methodologies pedagogically so that all these young people that work with their iPads and with their computers do not want to sit and work by using their hands. How do we keep them on board? The trend is that even universities like Collins in Manchester, that had the greatest expertise and with whom we had been working for many years, have turned into design. But I have had papers presented in the International Conference of Huddersfield that out of the 8 people students studying in universities in England, only one of them can find a job as designer because they have been advertised as fashion design and they are prepared for fashion design, but at the end only one of them finds a job. There's no real concentration on the technical skills that will interpret all this. Actually, most of the work that is done for Astros and M&S is done at Fashion Center, Jade Holloway, and that's where our methodology is really used. Jenny uses our methodology. But unfortunately, even though she wants and I want, she has to rely on funding. And the funding puts restrictions on the way to teach, and that is our challenge, and that I transfer her message also, because she told me to do it, to really have some support on this, so that there can be really the comprehensive short courses for professionals, for teachers. Teachers are getting lost. There are no teachers that know really the skills to transfer to students. Students are disappointed. So what are you going to do this as a business model, as part of the project? Thank you.
Thank you.
I will be short. I will focus on sustainability. I'm really happy that everybody is talking about sustainability here today. I would like to say some things about sustainability coming from the industrial sector. Sustainability doesn't have to do only with finance stuff, it also has to do with the environment, and it also has an ethical sector. There is about 300 million people working in the cotton industry around the world. 6 million people are forced to work for cotton during the harvest period. There are many countries in the world where teachers are forced to close the schools. There is child labor. There are pregnant women that go to the cotton yards and work there. And that is an issue, because if you tell me that I will pay 10 more euros to buy a sustainable t-shirt that it's not made from a 5-year-old boy in Uzbekistan, I would pay it. And for us, we take all these things for granted because we're European and it's not in our everyday life. But as a ginning mill, we do a lot of research and we sell a lot of cotton. We export almost all our cotton. to Far East especially, and we're really informed of the situations. That's why we are big fans of sustainability, and we are one of the 2 or 3 ginning mills that produce sustainable cotton in Greece. We think that it's really important. In the first steps, maybe we are not award for producing this cotton, but we think that this is the only solution. There is a huge demand for sustainable cotton. Every year is more and more. It's the only way that we will survive. In Europe, only Greece and Spain produce cotton. Greece is one of the biggest exporters in the whole world. I think it has the 7th position. So we have to take cotton seriously. We are here to communicate and to work with the labs and the designers to make research. We are here to tell you our opinion about the first steps in the production and to try to do together something to add value to cotton and to do something for the environment, for a better price maybe. And so to make a conclusion, I think that whatever has to do with sustainability have a potential, so all the cotton cases are just perfect.